This guy right here is our main man, once a legendary warrior, champion of the world's biggest boxing tournament. Thought he could finally retire and live the high life, but fate said hell no, before he could even enjoy the good times. Then, out of nowhere, a truck slammed into him, knocking him senseless, and just like that, he kicked the bucket. But his luck was so crappy that even in death he ran into a multi-level marketing scammer who conned him into being a budget-tier hero, and wouldn't you know it? He was reincarnated as a slave to a hard-working demon. But from there, his skills slowly began to awaken. Just tossing a random egg could make a low-level demon drop dead and head to the afterlife. Or a simple casual punch could take down a high-rank orc. And all right, enough with the yapping. Let's jump right into it. The world's strongest man. The champion at the age of 27, who held the title of the world's best fighter 2 years ago. An undefeated record of 23 wins and 0 losses. The heavyweight champion of the MMA League, the biggest in the world. The man who even finished his final match before retiring without a single defeat. He is none other than Choi Hyun-seok. Right as he retired, an accident occurred. He thought in a daze, am I really dead because I got hit by a truck? All my retirement savings are gone too, and I worked so hard for it. 30 minutes later, after he cleared his head, another thought popped into his mind. Yeah, actually this is better. Now that I'm dead, I don't have to train anymore. And there are no more title defense matches. The only saving grace is that I have no relatives, no friends, so no one will be sad that I'm gone. At that same moment, a mysterious portal glowing with light appeared. Infinite possibilities appeared before his eyes. Hyun-seok. A hand slowly reached out from inside the portal, waving at him immediately after. A girl with angel wings, with an incredibly beautiful face, and fair skin with rolling hills and mountain ranges, rising and falling in curves. She stepped out and cheerfully said to him, "Sorry for being late. SSS-Rank hero Choi Hyun-seok, I am Decho. I'm a hunter, specializing in scouting those who have finished their lives on Earth." Hearing those words made Hyun-seok unable to hide his surprise. He quickly looked up and asked her back, "Scouting, wait, Angel. Please explain it a bit more, like be more specific." Cho suddenly leaned in, bringing her beautiful face right up to Hyun-seok's, making him feel flustered yet excited. She smiled playfully and replied, "Now let me explain. You have 2 options." At the same time, she grabbed his hand and continued, "One is to accept it. Just die like this and wait until you're reincarnated into your next life as a pathetic, lonely old man. The other choice is to be reincarnated immediately as a hero destined to save a world that is waiting for you." After hearing her explanation, Hyun-seok seemed quite surprised. With a slightly awkward smile, he said to her, "Well, this is pretty sudden. Give me a moment to think it over. Your explanation feels like it's missing something." Decho put her hands on her hips and happily explained, "I mean, are you really going to pass up the chance to live again? If you listen to me, you'll have wealth, fame, beautiful women, and other perks. Those who become heroes even get a status window as an added bonus, allowing you to become a powerful character, just like in a video game. Anyway, we provide a top-tier service with an extremely wide range of rewards." Hyun-seok smiled faintly and thought to himself, "Don't I have to keep fighting if I become a hero? I just want to retire, but you want me to go back to throwing hands again? I'd rather stay dead than be reincarnated." Seeing his confused face, Decho said somewhat dejectedly, "Please pay attention. It seems like you don't quite get it yet, so let me break it down for you a bit more." At that moment, a fake mustache appeared in her hand. She put it on and began to explain, "If you become a hero in another world, the village chief will run to you barefoot just to serve you food. Right from the start, you'll look at him with a kind gaze and solve the simple requests that he gives you in the most badass way. At that point, the chief will be so moved he'll say, 'Oh, hero, my daughter is famous for being the most beautiful girl in this village. If you please take my humble daughter as your own. This old village has nothing else to offer. To show our gratitude to you." Hearing Decho's delusional fairy tale left Hyun-seok standing there completely blank, having no idea what was going on. Decho was surprised and thought to herself, "Teach still hasn't taken the bait. If I fail now, what about my headhunting commission? Time for plan B." Immediately after, she whipped around, putting on a fed-up expression, saying, "Fine, if you don't like it, then forget it. I'll take that as a no. I'm out. Go ahead and end your life as a lonely old man, and enjoy your next life then." Hyun-seok panicked and stopped her. "Wait, hold on." Decho glanced back with a dark, devious smile, saying, "Well, though I can't guarantee you'll even be reborn as a human in the next life." Hyun-seok was instantly filled with terror and dread. He hurriedly threw himself onto the ground, desperately grabbing onto Decho's feet, trembling as he replied, I'll do it. Having achieved her goal, Cho looked absolutely delighted, but she still tried to act cool and said, "Sorry, I didn't quite catch that." Seeing that, Hyun-sok burst into tears and replied, "I said I'll do it. I'll become a hero." Cho immediately put on a satisfied face, smiling as she said, "Oh my." At the same time, she held up her finger, casting a spell. Then she swung her arm toward the sky, creating a sphere of light, with mystical blue streaks of light, happily saying, "Well, then shall we head out right now?" Hyun-sok nodded in agreement and said yes. Right after that moment, Hyun-sok suddenly looked up with a blank stare, asking, "Wait immediately." Like right now. Cho glanced down, pointed her hand at him, flicked it up, and replied, "Of course. What are you waiting for?" A beautiful, wonderful new world. Hyun-sok wailed and screamed, Wait, hold on. You can't just take someone away." Without any preparation like this, Cho nonchalantly said, "They're waiting for you." "Mr. Hero, all right then. Have a safe trip. Since you're going anyway, why overthink it? I'm a busy woman, you know." Suddenly someone called her and she exclaimed, "Oh, someone's calling me." Promising hero number 137421 Choi. Hyun-sok just completed his reincarnation. "You'll give me my commission right away, right?" The scene shifts to somewhere else. Hyun-seok was lying semi-conscious on a bed. The urgent calls of someone began to ring out. "Open your eyes, wake up." Hearing those words, Hyun-seok thought to himself, "Is someone's voice calling me? Is this the village the angel told me about?" The plot progression is so obvious from the start. Interrupting Hyun-seok's train of thought, a stern voice rang out again. "Open your damn eyes, get up now." And instantly, something was thrown straight at his stomach, causing him to bolt upright in pain. With a look of pure rage, he threw off the blanket, turning toward the source and shouting bitterly, "What kind of psycho says such morbid crap, huh?" Seeing a burly thug with blood-red skin, wearing a beast-shaped helmet, left Hyun-seok completely stunned. The man barked back in anger, "Who the hell are you to think you can just sleep all day in the slave quarters?" Hyun-seok thought to himself, "Is this the village chief with the most beautiful daughter? Anyone can see this guy as the monster. I'm supposed to kill him, right?" Snapping out of his thoughts, Hyun-seok stated firmly to the man, "I am a hero." The man asked back in surprise, "You're a hero?" Then he leaned in close, staring intensely at Hyun-seok's face, scoffing, "Are all heroes these days this stupid?" Hyun-seok was stunned, thinking, "Whoa, this guy." Then his fists clenched as he wondered, "What's going on? Something feels off here. No, there's no way that angel would do this. Is this meathead my trial mission?" Just as I thought. Keep it together. Now that I've figured this much out, the next thing I have to do, as a Korean, is act. Snapping out of his thoughts, Hyun-seok replied, "Correct." The thug asked back in confusion, What did you just say?" Immediately, Hyun-seok stood up and started trash-talking. "Drop dead, you weakling monster." At the same time, he threw a powerful kick toward the man with a smug face, thinking, hell yeah. Direct hit, but that kick was nothing to the man. It only served to piss him off even more, as blood-red murderous intent flared up, along with a mocking remark, "Didn't you just call yourself a hero? I'm so done with this nonsense. Where do these psychos keep coming from?" Then his hand tightened around Hyun-seok's leg, causing him excruciating pain, and instantly, a powerful counterpunch from the burly thug came flying straight at Hyun-seok, accompanied by an arrogant remark. "You'll sober up once you've had a good night's sleep." Mr. Self-proclaimed hero. Hyun-seok looked absolutely terrified and shocked. Sweat drenched his innocent-looking face. Then the inevitable happened. In an underground dungeon, constant screams and curses from Hyun-seok echoed through the halls. "Open this door, you psycho, bring that meathead back here. Let's go another round." Right after that, the cell door creaked open. Some kind of green monster, with a sword slung over its shoulder, stomped inside menacingly, voice booming, "Who the hell is making all this noise?" Terrifying Hyun-seok. As he scrambled backward on the floor, drawing closer, he slammed his sword into the ground threateningly. "Human, if you shout one more time, I'll turn you into soup." Scared out of his wits, Hyun-seok nodded frantically. "Yes, sir, I'll be quiet, sir." He pointed his finger at Hyun-seok, glaring at him as he warned one last time. "Human, I'll be watching you, so you better behave yourself." Hyun-seok quickly clasped his hands and replied, "Yes, I understand, bye-bye." As soon as the monster left, Hyun-seok slumped on the floor, rubbing his head and cursing, "Damn it! This so-called grand adventure, in this other world, is a total load of crap." He couldn't help but wonder, where did it all go wrong? Forget the village chief's daughter. Am I going to die a second time while still being a virgin? Suddenly, a voice echoed from the adjacent cell. "Hey, over there, you new..." Hyun-seok looked up startled, peering toward the opening to the next cell and asking, Who's there?" The person replied, "Me, I'm your senior and aspiring hero myself. We are in the Demon King's military fortress, which specializes in human trafficking." Curious about this stranger, Hyun-sok climbed up and clung to the iron bars, looking over and asking with a stutter, Are you Korean? Mr. Senior, what the heck is going on here? How did we end up in a dump like this? The big guy smiled and asked back, "Do you really want to know?" Without another word, he covered his ears and shouted, "Hey, are you self-proclaimed heroes still alive? Because a real hero has finally come to save us." While Hyun-seok was still dazed suddenly, responses from the other prison cells all at once rang out. "Save me, I'm a hero over here. Please save me, I'm a real hero too." Hyun-seok turned to the big guy and asked, "What the hell is with this world?" The man replied cheerfully, "As you can see, there are hundreds of heroes, trapped here in the Demon King's military fortress. The meathead you were looking for is the one in charge of this place. His name is Vijin, and the prison guard you saw earlier is called Jeruka. He's notorious for his cruelty, so you'd better watch out. Actually, never mind being careful, because you're already a target anyway, right? And the reason why we're all in this mess is because of that evil one-eyed bitch." Finally understanding the situation, Hyun-sok replied dejectedly, "I see." At the same time, the big guy looked furious, cursing out, "That demon bitch sent us to the wrong place." Hyun-seok asked in shock, "Sent to the wrong place? Senior, what do you mean by that?" "So we weren't supposed to start from here." The big guy glanced back and confirmed, "Yeah, absolutely sure. The heroes captured from elsewhere told me so. They said there's a starting zone specifically for heroes. Most heroes start out in a city or the countryside. Usually heroes live their lives without any powers at first, but none of them started their journey in the middle of the Demon King's army the way we did." Hyun-seok looked dejected and hopeless, wondering to himself, "Is this all because of that angel?" Scene shifts to the 2nd Slave Unit, part of the Demon King's 3rd Battalion. At this moment, Hyun-seok is trembling while carrying a massive log, while a huge monster sits majestically above with a gong in hand. He's constantly forced to chant the slogans. "We are the army of the great Demon King. Crush humanity. Devour all humans." A little later, the monster strikes the gong and announces, "That wraps it up for today's work. Head back, you slaves." Hyun-seok tries to force a smile as if he's loving it, but in his mind he's secretly thinking, "Damn this short, fat goblin bastard. One day I'm gonna..." The cell door is locked tight, which is when Hyun-seok returns to his room after a day of brutal manual labor. He sprawls out on the floor, sighing and whining. The prison cell was actually better. Come to think of it, that angel kept talking big about hero perks or whatever. I totally forgot about that because I'm always working. Usually, in a situation like this, there should be a status window. Status. Right after that, he hurriedly looks down at his hands and coolly reaches his hand forward. It certainly does not disappoint him. A status screen immediately appears. Lines of notifications pop up. Name Choi Hyun-seok. Occupation BROSP, Level 1. Strength 28. Agility 29. Stamina 31. Mana 10. Country points 0. Hero points 0. Hyun-seok looks fascinated, but he also has a few questions. "These are my status stats. But what's up with country and 31 stamina?" Just then, the big guy's hand reaches out from the next room and asks, "You got stamina points?" Hyun-seok wonders blankly. Can he hear me talking? Snapping out of it, Hyun-seok quickly replied, "Yeah, I guess so. My strength is at 28. The big guy chuckled and continued, "You said you're a champion. And man, it really shows. To have stats over 30 while still at level 1 is insane." Hyun-seok waved it off and replied, "Geez, but I'm still just a slave, you know." The big guy said excitedly, No! If it's you, I'm sure. You can bust out of here and become a hero." Meanwhile, Hyun-seok looked annoyed, covering his ears as he replied, Yeah, here we go again." Then the big guy went on, "Regular people would only get hoeing stats at this point. Your case is extremely rare." Not wanting to hear any more of his rambling, Hyun-seok quickly said, "Good night." Then he lost himself in thought. Even so, I'm only level 1. How am I supposed to pull this off? Night gradually fell. The moon was now hanging directly overhead. Hyun-seok sat up and opened his status window, and didn't forget to say, "Finally, he's asleep. Let's check this one more time." Right now, there are 2 promising things. Mana, which grants superhuman strength, and these hero points whose purpose is still unknown. Even those old-timer heroes didn't know about this. No one starts off with points right away. Just then, a certain glow began to emerge, giving Hyun-seok quite a fright. "What is this familiar light?" he blurted out. And then, a person with a massive chest area gradually stepped out, saying to him, "Oh my, it's been a while, Mr. Hero. Should I tell you about this part?" about the hero points. Hero points are a key feature that make a hero's life much smoother. You can earn them by completing quests. And you can use those points to... Right after she said that, Hyun-seok suddenly grabbed her, squeezing her hard in his hands. With a face full of rage, he shouted, "I don't give a damn about hero points or whatever. And you've got a serious beating coming your way." A moment later, Choi Hyun-seok tied her up tightly and left her dangling from a small branch like a lure on a fishing rod, making her plead in terror. "I'm so sorry. I didn't know my magic circle was broken. I just spilled a little coffee while I was snacking," Choi Hyun-seok said coldly. "Activate soundproofing magic. And as your punishment, you're now my manager. Specifically my assistant fairy," Wycole asked. "I have to stay by your side until you defeat the Demon King. But I finished my internship 100 years ago." Choi Hyun-seok told her indifferently, "Sorry, but I don't give a damn about that hero stuff anymore." Wycole asked back in shock. "Wait, what? What do you mean?" Choi Hyun-seok just lay down. Facing away from her, he explained, "Because I have no intention of defeating the Demon King. I'm just gonna live a normal life here." At the same time, Wycole, having untied herself, replied cheerfully, "Of course. There are plenty of promising heroes who decide the same thing. But you're the one with SSS rank potential," Choi Hyun-seok countered. "That doesn't mean I actually have to do anything. From the very start, I never considered it my responsibility." Wycole looked completely stunned and asked, "But why?" Choi Hyun-seok quickly replied, "I don't want to spend my life fighting like I did in my past one. Good night." Wycole thought to herself pensively, "Is this guy always like this? Isn't he just some meathead who only cares about fighting and women? But what about me?" After returning to the palace, Rachel knelt before someone and asked angrily, "I'm supposed to be Choi Hyun-seok's assistant fairy. I might have made a mistake, but having to serve as an assistant fairy all over again, isn't that a bit too much? Above all, you want me to stay with him until he kills the Demon King." The mysterious figure spoke. "My decision is final. Rachel, the assistant fairy. As a subordinate of the hero, once appointed, you must cooperate actively and share in every success and failure with that hero. Now go, Rachel. I will send you to the Demon Fortress, where Choi Hyun-seok is located. Don't return until you have completed the mission." Rachel burst into bitter tears and wailed, "No, I'm being dumped into that filthy human world." A surge of power was unleashed. Instantly, Rachel was sent back to the prison cell. At the same time, Hyun-seok told her, "Either way, an assistant fairy must follow every word their warrior says, right? Then you're going to be part of my escape plan." Rachel scratched her head in frustration and agreed, "Fine, whatever." Suddenly, there was a loud banging at the door, causing Hyun-seok to quickly snatch Rachel up into the palm of his hand, just in time as 3 guards burst in yelling, "Wake up, you pieces of meat." At this moment, Rachel was feeling totally annoyed and told Hyun-seok, "I can use invisibility magic." On the other hand, Hyun-seok was wondering, roll call is done, so why the hell is that bastard still coming here? Outside the door, the monster Jerka stood arrogantly and spoke, "Lord Jatron has summoned you, human." And that was when Rachel cast invisibility magic on Hyun-seok's hand. The scene shifts to Jatron's room. Hyun-seok entered with Jerka, who was sitting on his neck. He began to mock them. "I heard, you've been working very hard these past few days." And Jerka told me he has a beautiful new mount, making Hyun-seok exclaim in total surprise. But meanwhile, he was wondering to himself, "Is this stinky goblin bastard seriously praising me?" Jatron continued, "At first, I thought you were just some crazy human, but it's great that you work so hard, therefore..." Then Jatron stepped closer to Hyun-seok and asked cheerfully, "Do you want to become the head slave?" Like a bolt from the blue, Hyun-seok thought to himself, "What kind of crazy nonsense is this now?" At the same time, Rachel also found it hard to believe. Before Hyun-seok could even answer, he sat down and continued, "I'm making this offer because the work speed has dropped lately." For the past few days, Rachel had been feeling anxious, so she kept asking Hyun-seok, "You're not going to accept, right? You're going to turn him down immediately, aren't you?" "Answer me," fearing Hyun-seok might cave. Rachel hurriedly shouted, "Hey, listen to me. How can a hero bow down to the Demon King's minion?" But that voice was way too loud, startling both Yerka and Jatron, who exclaimed, "What? What was that sound?" Then suddenly Hyun-seok slammed his head on the table and said, "Thank you, sir. Leave it to me. I'll do my best to drive those people to work." Jatron felt extremely satisfied and told him, "Very good. You're nothing like my first impression of you. I'm starting to like you. Keep it up and I'll write a special recommendation letter for the Demon King's army. Now you are dismissed." During this time, tears silently fell down the face of Hyun-seok. He thought in agony, "Damn it! Goodbye to my escape plan." A few days later, at the construction site, The chants of the slaves rose up as usual. We are the army of the great demon king. Defeat and devour those humans. Consecrate your bodies and lives to the demon king. Now Hyun-seok was in a different position. He stood upon the watchtower, gazing down arrogantly at everything below. Suddenly someone caught Choi Hyun-seok's attention. He wore a look of pure satisfaction, pointing at that person and mocking them relentlessly. Hey, you speed it up, you hear me? My grandma runs faster than you. At this rate, how are we supposed to hit today's quota? Immediately after, a status window appeared, announcing that, by leading the group for a long period, your hidden charisma stat has increased. Choi Hyun-seok felt extremely pleased, exclaiming, "Oh, nice." He began to spread his arms wide in excitement, and shouted, "Being the head slave is the best." Below, everyone kept looking up at him, whispering among themselves, "That guy has finally lost it and sold out. I heard he used to be a hero, is that true? That guy, no way he's a hero." As for Rachel, she couldn't help but snap and yell, "Are you crazy? We're going to be in deep trouble if you keep this up." Choi Hyun-seok glanced back with a smug grin and told her, "Zip it and just trust me. A little sparrow like you could never understand a phoenix like me." Then he put on a bossy face again, pointing at a man who had collapsed on the ground, scolding, "Hey, you over there, are you throwing away your lunch? Why is it all over the dirt like that?" At the same time, his notification window appeared again. J-Tron's affinity for you has increased. Just a few more steps until the goal is reached. Choi Hyun-seok immediately turned toward the tower, waved cheerfully and said, "Thank you, Lord J-Tron." Witnessing that scene, Rachel felt utterly disappointed and said, "Sir Hero, I thought you wanted to continue your adventure and escape from this place. You call this an adventure or an escape?" Hyun-seok immediately countered, "Look, I'm just doing what the system says. Isn't following the system also part of a hero's duty?" Of course, Rachel didn't like this at all. She looked suspicious and asked, "But raising the affinity of a demon king's subordinate, what's that even supposed to mean? You seriously expect me to believe a quest like that actually exists?" Hyun-seok immediately replied, "I'm dead serious. You want me to read it out loud for you, pal?" You woke up inside the demon king's army fortress, due to some idiot's blunder. At that moment, his status window opened up. Rachel questioned it. "Wait, that's not right. This phrasing is weird. The system is a program. It's only supposed to use neutral language." Hyun-seok replied irritably, "But it's the truth. What more do you want from me? Maybe SSS-Rank hero systems are just built different." Rachel tearfully tried to explain, "No, I mean, even so." Flashing back to the previous night, inside Hyun-seok's prison cell, Rachel was completely baffled by his actions. She suddenly ripped away the blanket he was covered in and interrogated him relentlessly. "Hey, are you out of your mind? Why on earth did you happily accept that offer?" Hyun-seok sat up angrily, grabbed Rachel and yelled at her, "I'm not the crazy one here, you are. Whose fault was this in the first place?" At the same time, the status window suddenly popped up saying, "Hero Quest. You woke up, only to find yourself in the Demon King's army fortress, thanks to some idiot's blunder, feeling like something's not quite right, like being stuck on the toilet without any paper. But don't lose heart. Luckily, you've been given a chance. Increase Officer J-Tron's affinity for you. Demon King's army. A true hero must learn how to use their enemies. Objective J-Tron's affinity. Reward 100 points. The hero Hyun-seok blinked in total confusion, wondering, what on earth is this? Back to the present. Hyun-seok smugly put his hands on his hips and declared loudly, "Listen up, you slaves." He began singing the anthem of the Demon King's 3rd Legion, which left Rachel wide-eyed in shock, wondering, is it really a quest? Only higher-ups have the authority to change quest details. So why did Choi Hyun-seok's quest change so suddenly? Suddenly, a monster named Grog stepped up from behind and barked, "Hey, Mount!" Hyun-seok flinched and replied, "Oh, Lord Grog." He looked incredibly arrogant, commanding, "Follow me. Lord J-Tron has summoned you." The scene shifts to J-Tron's office. Seeing Choi Hyun-seok walk in, he spoke up cheerfully. "I heard the slaves' productivity has increased significantly." This made Choi Hyun-seok act totally sucked in, replying, "It's really nothing at all. I'm just a lowly, ignorant human. It's all thanks to Lord J-Tron's wise leadership." Meanwhile, Rachel felt completely disgusted. She turned her head away and muttered, "You don't actually think that cheap brown-nosing is going to work, do you?" J-Tron clasped his hands together, looking pleased. Right then, status windows popped up instantly. "You have reached the affinity goal. Hero quest complete. You have received 100 hero points. Beginner hero shop has been unlocked." Leaving Rachel beyond stunned, she thought. It actually worked. Having achieved the first phase of his plan, Hyun-seok thought to himself, "Everything is going smoothly so far. The affinity quest is done. Time to move on to the next step. Right after that, he looked at Jatron, saluted, and made a request. If you don't mind, could I start a slave training program? Jatron asked back suspiciously. Slave training? Hyun-seok smiled and replied, just hear me out. Imagine a group of elite slaves working as one, highly disciplined slaves, doing the work of 3 people, without a single trace of slacking. With slaves like that, the fortress construction project could be finished within a week, but human physical stats are way too weak to handle both work and training at the same time. Then the commander will tell you, Jatron, you've done a hell of a job. After hearing those sweet-talked words, Jatron immediately agreed, saying, approved. Hyun-seok couldn't hide his excitement as he replied, thank you, sir. Back in Hyun-seok's prison cell, Rachel was currently feeling utterly disappointed. She kept sobbing and saying, my hero is definitely washed up. First bowing down to the Demon King's Legion, and now training slaves on top of that. How can I live through this hopeless mental breakdown? Hyun-seok got annoyed and shouted, you're being way too noisy. Calm down and listen, I've got a plan. Rachel replied skeptically. Are you trying to cap to me again? Hyun-seok looked back at her and teased. Do you think I'm as dumb as you? Look, I'm planning to use the slaves to spark a rebellion. Rachel was startled and asked, what a rebellion? Hyun-seok then explained, this fortress has 3,000 human slaves. The number of soldiers from the Demon King's army is only around 500. Plus, there's a human alliance base not far from this fortress. They'll rush to build it because of these people. Immediately after, Hyun-seok flashed a delighted grin and continued, in the middle of the chaotic riot, we can call for backup from the human alliance. Rachel finally caught on. She replied with admiration, Mr. Hero, so you're not just some meathead who only knows how to fight, huh? I'm actually moved, Hyun-seok then said. But for now, I need to check the quest rewards. Still skeptical, Rachel asked in surprise. Do you really have hero points? That quest wasn't just a total lie. Hyun-seok replied, I told you. There's even something called a hero shop now. Hyun-seok had a look of pure satisfaction on his face. Pointing a finger at the notification window, he happily continued. So let's see what we've got here. I'm opening it now. Hopefully it's something good. Be good, my precious lifeline. After opening it, his face looked very satisfied as he thought to himself, sweet, finally I scored a skill. Looking closely, the notification window displayed hold breath. Hold breath longer than holding in a dump. Hold in a dump even longer. Hyun-seok was absolutely stunned and furious. He glared with a darkened expression and screamed, and there's cooking, cleaning, and laundry. Are these really the skills a hero is supposed to have? Rachel giggled and explained, well, that's just the level 1 shop. If you earn 10 more points and upgrade the shop, then you can find some actually useful stuff. Hyun-seok immediately lunged forward and grabbed Rachel, shouting, shut it, you scammer fairy! Rachel cried out in terror, somebody help me. When the scene shifted to the construction site, Hyun-seok was pouring his heart and soul into his slave training plan. Everyone was seen standing at attention, raising their hands in unison. Attention, saluting the Demon King. Hyun-seok sternly commanded them, today we will sing the anthem of the 3rd Legion. Begin. Immediately the singing voices rose. We are the army of the great Demon King. Defeat the humans, devour mankind. Forget all suffering once we capture them. Nothing under this sky is greater than the Demon King's love. Inside the tower, looking out at them, Vedran felt incredibly satisfied and exclaimed, I'm so glad I allowed him to train them. Suddenly his room door was flung open. Zaroka rushed in, panting, Master Vedran! There's an emergency. The human army is marching this way. The 8th Division sent to stop them fell into a trap and has been captured. Hearing the terrible news, Vedran whipped around in shock and said, the 8th Division is the largest unit in my territory. If the 8th Division is wiped out, then those bastards making it here is only a matter of time. I have to abandon the fortress when it's almost done. Zaroka immediately pointed toward the door to urge him, there's no more time, you must evacuate right now. Vedran calmly replied, wait a second, Zaroka, then turned back toward the window, looking down at the army Hyun-seok was training, and said, since ancient times, war has been considered a battle of logistics. The first law of war is to never lose a competent supply officer. Go on ahead. Zaroka, I'll take care of Hyun-seok and follow you after. Meanwhile, Hyun-seok was still focused on training the army. He thought to himself, looks like this combat training is going to be canceled again because of his surveillance. At the same time, the iron door atop the tower was kicked open. Hyun-seok heard it, but he didn't seem to care much about it. He kept thinking that his abilities had increased a bit, but it still wasn't enough to start a full-blown riot. In the meantime, Vedran was preparing for a jump from the height, without Hyunsuk even realizing it. Hyunsuk sighed and muttered, "Ugh! Isn't there some kind of random event that could level up my stats?" Right then, Vedran jumped down behind Hyunsuk, making him spin around in a panic, stammering, "My Lord Vedran." Vedran quickly grabbed Hyunsuk and said, "There's no time, come with me now." Hyunsuk replied in surprise, Why so sudden? Where are we even going?" At the same time, the human army was aggressively charging in, led by a guy with a scruffy beard. "Attack victory is within our reach." Immediately following that order, the army equipped with full armor and long spears, marching in with absolute ferocity and power. At the same time, a barrage of arrows was unleashed toward the Demon King's army, causing many green monsters to perish in total agony. Suddenly, a voice shouted, aiming straight at Zejun, "Over there? That bastard is the Red Nightmare Zejun," making both of them look up in shock. Amidst the chaotic battle, shouts continued to ring out. "Regular soldiers fall back. Knights will handle the enemy, move out. Victory is right before our eyes." Hearing those familiar words, Hyunsuk couldn't help but think in bewilderment. Why is there a human army here? No, wait, this could be my big break. A chance to backstab the Demon Kings, command and return to human society. Meanwhile, nearby, a human knight was rushing, full tilt toward Zejun, yelling with pure determination, "Die Red Nightmare." But Zejun was no pushover. As soon as the knight closed in, Zejun grabbed him by the face and squeezed with such force that his eyes popped out bleeding right in front of Hyunsuk. Then Zejun unleashed Zejun Martial Arts' 7th form, explosive wave of destruction. He slammed the knight's head into the ground, causing the earth to shatter, and a massive explosion to blow away all the nearby knights. He then glanced back and asked Hyunsuk, "You okay?" Hyunsuk immediately raised his hand in a salute and replied, I'll be leaving now." After a period of intense combat, eventually, the fortress returned to its usual quiet state, and it seemed as though the human army had completely taken control of the area. Voices could be heard sorting out the prisoners. "Citizens of the Mario Kingdom this way. Citizens of the Dragon Empire this way." A soldier asked a large man in the cell next to Hyunsuk, "Are you a warrior?" The man quickly replied, "Yes, yes." The soldier then continued, "I see. In that case, go this way. We categorize warriors and ordinary prisoners separately." The big guy looked surprised and asked, "For real?" "Thank you so much, guys. Finally, we're being treated like actual warriors." Then suddenly a voice called out from the crowd, "Thank you all for coming. Warriors, it's a pleasure to meet you. I am Olivin Grimier, Duke of the Dragon Empire, and commander of the Allied forces." A soldier rushed up behind the Duke, reporting, "Commander, the evacuation of the residence is complete." The Duke smiled broadly and replied, "Excellent. Proceed with the report, soldier." "We have compiled the list of those identifying as warriors." Simultaneously, the Duke turned and walked past the soldier, issuing an order. "Then let's get this show on the road." Immediately upon receiving the Duke's command, the soldier barked orders, and the troops drew their swords in unison, pointing them at the warriors and declaring, "Execute every last one of these warriors." Elsewhere in a certain forest, a carriage convoy was moving at high speed. Inside, Hyunsuk was covering his face, sobbing and shaking. "Goodbye, Isekai world. Goodbye, my grand adventure. Goodbye, my second life." He then looked up at Vedran and thought to himself, "That psycho crushed the heads of everyone chasing us, so it looks like we're in the clear now." Seeing his state, Rachel kept trying to comfort him, saying, "Warrior, please pull yourself together. A crisis like this is actually a golden opportunity." Hyunsuk snapped back angrily, "Shut it, you're capping so hard." Suddenly, that outburst caught Vedran's attention. The man asked, I must have dozed off. "Did you say something, Hyunsuk?" Hyunsuk frantically waved his hands and gave a nervous laugh, explaining, "It was nothing at all. I was just talking to myself about what a massive honor it is to be traveling with you." Such excessive flattery made Vedran feel quite pleased. He replied with a cheerful laugh, "Glad you feel that way. We're almost at the 3rd Corps headquarters. Keep moving. Once we arrive, I will officially recruit you into the Demon King's army." Right in front of him, Hyunsuk acted completely surprised and thrilled, replying, "What an honor, this is an absolute privilege." But deep down, he was feeling incredibly drained and miserable. A gloomy darkness had settled over him. By this time, it was late afternoon. The convoy approached a certain castle. They were welcomed by the shouts of the guards. "Lord Zejun has returned, open the gates." Stopping at a designated spot, Zejun got off the carriage and told Hyunsuk, "Follow me. I'll take you straight to the commander." Hyunsuk hopped down and ran to Zejun's side, saying, "It's such an absolute honor to meet the commander so soon." Zejun laughed heartily and replied, "It sure is. But remember to mind your manners in front of the commander. If you don't want to lose your life. Hyunsuk flinched and thought to himself, right. They say if you keep your wits about you, you can survive even in a tiger's den. I will not back down, Saoi. Entering a magnificent and lavish palace, they stopped before a set of doors. Zejun spoke up, Commander Hemis, it's me, Zejun. Immediately a response echoed from inside. Come in. Upon hearing that voice, Hyunsuk thought, wait, is that a woman's voice? Could the commander be a woman? Stepping inside, a monster, in the form of a woman, sat regally on a golden throne. As they walked in, she spoke cheerfully, oh my, look who it is. You're back, Zejun. You've gotten even more ripped, haven't you? And Zejun replied, your beauty shines brighter every day, Commander. After admiring her appearance, Hyunsuk was stunned, thinking to himself, whoa, such a babe is the commander. What should I say? Should I compliment her looks? Zejun stepped forward quickly to take responsibility. I am deeply ashamed for failing to protect the fortress. Commander Hemis lounged on her chair, stretching lazily as she spoke. It's fine. It was the 8th Division Commander's fault, not yours. Then with a twisted smile she continued, I really should have flayed him to make a new handbag. The nerve of him crawling back alive as a total loser. Instantly, Hyunsuk flinched, thinking, what is this? I can't even breathe. This pressure is on a whole other level, compared to anyone I've ever met before. After lounging around to her heart's content, Hemis suddenly sat up and asked Zejun, whatever. Anyway, who's the human you brought with you? Hearing himself mentioned, made Hyunsuk jump slightly. Standing beside him, Zejun replied, this is Choi. Hyunsuk, the one I reported on earlier. I brought him to officially join the Demon King's army. Hemis suddenly lunged in front of Hyunsuk, sniffed him, and said, he's a cutie. A talent handpicked by Zejun himself. Should I be excited for this? Hyunsuk replied fearfully, I'll do my absolute best. Hemis seemed to realize something and said to Zejun, but with a body like that, he won't last a second in the demon army. Don't you agree, Zejun? Zejun agreed, replying, true, the others would eat him alive. But a human joining the demon army is unprecedented. And if you'll allow it, I will personally train him. Hemis, clearly disagreeing, waved her hand dismissively. No, you can't waste your time on a mere human. Right after that, Hemis stretched, puffing out her chest as waves of terrifying power erupted. She then transformed into a true monster, with a gaping maw and sharp, terrifying fangs that looked absolutely horrifying. She slowly reached in and pulled something out, leaving Hyunsuk completely frozen in sheer terror. She pulled out a dog and held it in her arms, then cheerfully told Hyunsuk, from now on, you've been appointed as Hemis's pet sitter. This little guy is Bobo. He's adorable, isn't he? At the same time, the dog turned ferocious and kept growling, leaving Hyunsuk terrified as he wondered, a pet, since when is that a dog? Are you sure it's not some kind of devil? Spawned straight from hell. Zejun spoke to Hemis with satisfaction. Wow, I can feel such powerful energy, even though it's still just a baby. I can also sense its elegance. Hemis replied, of course, see. Zejun gets it. She then turned toward Hyunsuk and said, what's with that reaction? Don't you like him? Immediately, Hyunsuk raised his hand in a salute and replied, Demon Army candidate. Choi Hyunsuk reporting. It is a true honor to be the one to care for Bobo. Hemis tossed the dog toward Hyunsuk and said, now that's what I like to hear. He's a growing boy, so don't forget to feed him. He gets hangry when he's hungry. It was getting annoying picking new caretakers anyway, since he just keeps eating them. Hyunsuk held the dog, replying in fear, yes ma'am. Scene shifts to Bobo's kennel. While the dog was fast asleep, a notification window popped up. Vejo quickly spoke to Hyunsuk. Is there a new hero quest? Right in the middle of the demon army. Hyunsuk quickly put a finger to his lips and whispered, shh, you're going to wake him up. 4 notification windows displayed the hero quest details. You have become Bobo's caretaker. Nobody knows why you have to do this, but take it slow. Being alive is better even if life is a total shit show. Stay alive by increasing Bobo's affinity. Good luck. After carefully reading the notification content, Hyunsuk rested his chin on his hand, thinking, this quest gives 200 hero points. The goal is... And immediately, Hyunsuk looked back at the dog and wondered, so now I have to win over a dog. Is this really what a hero does? Suddenly, there was a loud, aggressive pounding on the door. Standing outside was a goblin. He seemed to be in a massive rush. He kept shouting for the humans to open up immediately. The moment the door swung open, Hyuksik bowed low to greet him. Nice to meet you, I'm Choi Hyuksik. On the flip side, internally he was thinking, a goblin is the caretaker. He's totally going to look down on me, bet. Seeing the goblin had arrived all by himself, Hyuksik asked curiously, where are the other seniors, sir? The goblin monster replied coldly, "There's no one else. They're all dead. So from now on, you and I will be preparing the meals for BB." Hyuk-sik asked in surprise, "Wait, is that all?" He replied, "Yeah, just that. Now if you've got it, get off your butt and follow me." At that same moment, Bobo the dog woke up. It pounced right onto the goblin monster, using its long, slimy tongue to lick his head repeatedly with a terrifying expression. Seeing that, he immediately tried to flee, grabbing onto Hyuk-sik's leg and saying, "Oh, so you're awake here? This fresh human was prepared just for you." This left Hyuk-sik completely panicked, blurting out, "What the hell is this crazy goblin doing?" Simultaneously, the goblin climbed onto Hyuk-sik's back and told him, "Shut it, human, one of us has to die today." Realizing his scheme immediately, Hyuk-sik reached back, grabbed his collar, and said, "In that case, you're the one who's dying." With zero wasted movement, Hyuk-sik flipped him over his head, sending him flying toward the dog, Bobo, and coldly said to it, "Here's a snack for you, Bobo." The dog, seeing its food approaching, seemed absolutely thrilled. Drool began dripping from its mouth. After finishing off the goblin, the dog turned its attention to Ji. It kept chasing her, making her increasingly terrified, until she cried out, "This is too much. Help." Hyuk-sik nonchalantly said to her, "Don't run for too long. It's just going to get hungry again." As if he spotted something, Hyuk-sik's eyes widened. A notification window popped up again saying, "Large oxtail bone, a bone that can lure any kind of monster. Ability to charm monsters. Hero points required 30. After thinking it over for a bit, Hyuk-sik decided to hit the buy button. Then he immediately called out to Bobo. Hearing its name, the dog turned its head. Hyuk-sik was holding a ginormous bone in his hand. He grinned and asked the dog, "You want this? Then go get it." And just like that, Hyuk-sik hurled the bone into the air, while the dog watched in total shock. Snapping back to its senses, it leaped high into the air, catching the bone firmly in its jaws. Jicho, who was now completely exhausted, asked Hyuk-sik while shaking like a leaf, "How did you find an item like that?" "I wish you'd found it a bit sooner." Hyuk-sik gloated as he told her, "It's all thanks to this big brain of mine. I don't miss a single detail. This mission is going to be a breeze." Right then, the dog lunged toward him, but luckily, he managed to dodge to the side just in time. He was busy talking to Jicho, which helped him escape. Seeing this, Jicho said, "A breeze, huh? Why did I ever think that one bone would be enough?" The dog clamped its teeth onto a piece of Hyuk-sik's shirt and looked absolutely livid. Turning around, Hyuk-sik started trembling with fear. He stuttered to Jicho. I think it wants fresh meat," Jicho asked. "So you're planning to take it outside?" At this moment, the first thing on Hyuk-sik's mind was to use his head. He had to use some kind of magic word to calm the dog down. Then Hyuk-sik suddenly barked out, "Sit!" Just as Hyuk-sik expected, the dog immediately became well-behaved, looking at him with an affectionate gaze. Then it pounced up and embraced Hyuk-sik with all its love. A moment later, Hyuk-sik decided to lead the dog outside, to look for the kitchen. Seeing the dog frolicking about, Hyuk-sik said, "Easy there, Bobo, this way. Do you want to go out? Let's go." Jicho flew up high, looked around, and then cried out in disappointment, "I can't smell any food at all. I have no idea where we are either." Suddenly, she spotted a goblin. She pointed at him and told Hyuk-sik, "Why don't we try asking that guy over there?" Hyuk-sik agreed with the idea. He immediately ran toward the goblin and greeted him cheerfully. "Excuse me, could you help lead the way?" The goblin frowned and replied, "Who the hell are you? Why would a human—" Before he could finish his sentence, Bobo put on a fierce face and growled, staring him down. It made him so scared he couldn't stand straight, collapsing onto the ground and whining pitifully. Seeing that, Hyuk-sik laughed and teased him. "It's time for Bobo's walk," the goblin asked with suspicion. Why is a human with Bobo? At the same time, the dog stepped closer to him, constantly nuzzling against his face, making him shake uncontrollably. Hyuk-sik quickly ordered, Now, Bobo, no eating." He then patted its head and scratched its ears, telling the goblin, "I started taking care of Bobo today." "Do you happen to know where the kitchen is?" The goblin asked in amazement, "A human caretaker?" And during that moment, Bobo turned around to walk behind Hyuk-sik. Right after that, the goblin scrambled up and ran for his life, shouting back, "The kitchen is to the left." Leaving Hyuk-sik and Jicho staring blankly, confused by what just happened. Then Hyuk-sik immediately chuckled and said to Jicho, "Why is he so shook? Is he really a member of the demon army?" Jicho laughed and replied, "I was just about to say that. That's so hilarious. But you're not going to take care of that dog forever, right?" Hyuk-sik asked back, "Why would you say that?" "I dream of having a fateful encounter with a blonde lady and getting married eventually." Right then, he glanced down at the spot where Bobo had just been standing, but there was absolutely nothing left. Hyuksik panicked instantly. His face went completely dark. Tears and snot streamed down as he screamed frantically, "Where did that damn dog go?" The second I look away, it turns into a total disaster. Meanwhile, Jicho was also scanning the area searching for it, and it seemed she spotted it. She told Hyuksik over there. Bobo was currently running back toward them. Hyuksik joyfully stepped forward to welcome it back, fussing over it. "Oh, my sweet baby, you really worried me." Bobo rushed toward Hyuksik looking all excited, but there was a long streak of blood on its muzzle, as if it had just done something horrific. Immediately after, the shouts of the guards rang out. "Commander Regis is dead. Who did this? We'll make you pay for this." Hearing the uproar scared both of them out of their wits. Jicho realized something and told Hyuksik, "I bet Bobo was the one who did it." Just as she said that, the guards caught up to them. Hyuksik quickly grabbed Bobo, and together with Jicho, they bolted away in a panic. While running for their lives, Jicho asked in total terror, "Mr. Hero, are we going to die like this? Is it game over for us?" Hyuksik snapped, "Shut up. If you have time to yap, spend it running." But it seemed that in their state of panic, they had run straight into a dead end. A goblin gloated, implying that the human was the one who killed the commander. Hyuksik tried to explain in fear, hold up, guys." The goblin nearby threatened him, saying, "I'll gnaw on his arms like chicken wings." The one holding a knife stuck out his tongue and said arrogantly, "I hope the commander hasn't been fully digested yet." The one with the mace quickly added, "Tear both the dog and the human to pieces, then we'll split them up among us." Hyuksik tried to psych himself up, thinking, "Focus, man, it's all about the mindset." After regaining his composure, Hyuksik put on a furious face and yelled, "How dare you? Do you have any idea who this brave soul is?" The knife-wielding goblin replied blankly, "Isn't that just a monster?" Hyuksik lowered his voice and barked, "What? How rude! This is Bobo." One goblin said, "Bobo, the commander's pet." The knife-wielding goblin snapped, "No way, that's just a human scam." Another goblin said doubtfully, "But what if it's for real?" Hyuksik sat down, placed Bobo on the ground, and said, "How could you not recognize Bobo? You should be ashamed of yourselves." The knife-wielding goblin asked in confusion, "What are you doing?" "Human." Hyuksik looked up at him with a sly grin and replied, "Activating beast mode." At that same moment, Bobo's eyes turned a glowing crimson as it growled, baring its razor-sharp teeth. Then Hyuksik said to Bobo, "That's the guy, go get him!" And instantly, Bobo lunged straight at him, mouth opened wide, and began to maul him savagely. The goblin shook in excruciating pain as blood sprayed everywhere. Beside them, Hyuksik watched with delight and said, "A dog with no muzzle is truly built different." A while later, the corpse of the knife-wielding goblin was nothing but white bones, lying still on the ground. Hyuksik looked at the rest of the guards and asked firmly, "Well, any other demons still doubting Bobo?" The entire group bowed down in fear and replied in unison, "We're so sorry we didn't know." Right after that, his notification window popped up again saying, "With maximum prestige, you have conquered many hidden attribute demons. Prestige has increased." Glancing at the notification, Hyuksik looked surprised and blurted out, "Oh, did I just get street cred?" Suddenly a majestic voice spoke from behind him. "I was wondering why it was so loud out here." Hamis was slowly approaching from behind. Hyuksik continued cheerfully, "Is a cute rookie doing something interesting out here?" Scene cuts to Hamis's office. After hearing the whole story, Hamis laughed heartily and said to Hyuksik, "So you used my name and Bobo's to survive?" Hyuksik bowed down deeply, saying, "I have committed a grave sin." Hamis burst out laughing and replied, "What's that?" "That's actually a compliment." Seeing Hyuksik still bowing without moving, Hamis stood up, lifted Hyuksik's chin with her hand and said, "After all, you are a human. You're very smart. Not like the idiots around here." Hyuksik quickly looked up at her and replied, "Thank you, milady." Hamis sat back down and continued happily, "The demon army always handles everything with brute force, which has caused a lot of trouble." Hyuksik asked blankly. "Trouble," Hamis replied. "You'll find out soon enough." "So do you want to become an enforcer?" Hyuksik's eyes widened in surprise as he asked back, "An enforcer? With my skills so suddenly?" Hamis replied, "It's a bit tough right now." "But I can't just let you keep pimping out my name and Bobo's." "The demon army has rank-deciding matches, which allow you to take your opponent's rank. I'll protect you for a month, but after that, you'll have to beat an opponent of my choice. And every time you win, your protection will be extended for another month. And if you slowly climb to the rank of a battalion commander, maybe then you'll actually be useful." Hyuksik then asked, "So what if I lose?" Hamis nonchalantly replied, "Then don't expect to die peacefully. You'll be dying in the heat of battle." leaving Hamis's room on the way back. Hyuk-sik hung his head and dejectedly complained to Jae-chol, I had to accept it. Because she looked like she'd kill me if I said no. She even gets to pick my opponents. Jae-chol replied, looks like I'll be saying goodbye. To you in a month, then. Hyuk-sik looked up, rubbed his head frustrated, then turned to ask, Hey, Jae-chol, you said my potential talent is SSS-Rank. Jae-chol replied, Don't you understand what potential means? She then crossed her arms and continued irritably, It's a possibility, not a fixed power level. Hyuk-sik sarcastically remarked, You call yourself a fairy assistant, but you're not helpful at all. Suddenly his eyes landed on a blood-stained door, with axes embedded in it. It immediately caught Hyuk-sik's attention. He thought to himself, Is this the kitchen? Peeking through the door, Hyuk-sik cautiously called out, Hello? Anyone in there? A tough-looking guy with long, protruding fangs replied, You must be the human the commander mentioned. I'm Chef Kunkun. What do you want? Hyuk-sik awkwardly said, I was wondering if I could get some snacks for Bobo. Kunkun asked in surprise. Oh, did Bobo get a new caretaker again? But no can do. Why should I help you? The only order from Commander Hamis was simply not to lay a finger on you. Hyuk-sik poked his head in and asked, Is there any other way? Kunkun crossed his arms and thought for a moment, then replied, If you really need meat. He looked back, where green goblins were busy hacking away at meat, and continued, Then go earn it yourself like they do. Hyuk-sik wondered skeptically, Do they even cook here? They look like butchers and earn it myself. What's that supposed to mean? Shortly after Hyuk-sik was taken to a forest, a giant boar was frantically charging straight at him, amidst the raucous cheers of the goblin pack. Kill it, that's our dinner. Hyuk-sik thought in a panic, Holy crap. How did I even end up here? The boar continued to lash out at the goblins, with eyes full of pure rage. It sent everything in its path flying. Seeing a goblin's corpse dying in a pool of fresh blood right before his eyes, Hyuk-sik thought to himself, They call this hunting, but it's just a bloodbath. I can't tell who's the predator and who's the prey anymore. Jae-chol asked shiveringly, What do we do now? Hero, should we bolt? Hyuk-sik replied, Do you seriously think I can? Outrun a mob like this? On the flip side, Hyuk-sik thought, But she's right. I'm in deep trouble. I need to make a move. Interrupting Hyuk-sik's thoughts, Kunkun suddenly called out, Yo, human! Startled, he raised his hand and answered, Yes, I'm up next. Kunkun turned back and said, No need for that. The hunt is over. By now, the giant boar was slumped on the ground, covered in wounds from head to toe. Hyuk-sik couldn't help but wonder in amazement. I thought they were just swinging blindly. How did they actually take it down? A goblin rushed breathlessly to the head chef, Kunkun, and reported. Progress report. 12 KIA and numerous casualties. Hearing that report, Hyuk-sik was shocked and thought, The damage is that insane. Kunkun gave a thumbs up and said with satisfaction, All right, good job. We'll find the next target after we take a breather. After racking his brain finally, Hyuk-sik reached a decision and told Jae, Look, I've thought it over. Escaping isn't an option anymore. Jae-chol asked back, What you're planning to go monster hunting with them? Hyuk-sik looked indifferent and replied, Nope. Why would I even do that? He then rubbed his head, smoothed his hair, and explained, Stats only increase when you level up. Basically, I just need experience points to level up. Jae-chol asked back in surprise, That's true. But where do you expect to find experience? In a mess like this? Hyuk-sik suddenly had a dark thought and asked, So can I still get that experience? If I just land the final blow? Jae-chol replied in shock, Yeah, technically that's how it works. Afterward, she pointed her trembling finger at Hyuk-sik and teased, But that is such a dirty way to play. Hyuk-sik didn't give a damn about that. He immediately turned to leave and said, Thanks for the info, let's get moving. Hyuk-sik's mind was racing constantly. I don't have many options here. If the commander is dead serious, I have to power up within a month. Right away, Hyuk-sik walked up to head chef Kunkun and greeted him cheerfully. Hey, chef, Kunkun teased in surprise. Oh, it's the human. I thought you'd ghosted us already. Hyuk-sik gave a goofy laugh and said, I would never do that. On the other hand, he was thinking, No way does he know what I'm up to. Shaking off his thoughts, Hyuk-sik continued, I've been thinking about joining the next hunt. As a member of the brave demon army, Kunkun cast a lazy glance toward Hyuk-sik and said in surprise, You human. This made Hyuk-sik flinch, thinking to himself, Did I cross the line? I hope Kunkun likes this. At the same time, Kunkun laughed heartily and told him, I really dig your vibe, human. Hyuk-sik replied with excitement, It's all thanks to you, chef. Immediately, Kunkun assigned him a mission. In that case, you'll be leading the next hunt. To us, being the leader is the highest honor. Normally, we wouldn't let a rookie take that position, but you're a special case. This made Hyuk-sik feel completely anxious and terrified. He blurted out, "Chef, how can I stand in front of the demon nobles? The other chefs will complain if I lead the way." Suddenly, a goblin rushed up from behind, shouting Kunkun's name repeatedly. Kuntan turned around and asked, "What's the matter?" The goblin, frantic and terrified, replied, There's an unusual monster." After hearing a sound coming from the distance, Kuntan deduced from the cry, "Damn it! And Iran is heading this way." Hyoksik looked up and asked, "Are we in danger?" Kuntan coolly replied, "Not really. But urine meat doesn't taste all that great. Whatever." At that moment, Kuntan reached behind his back, firmly grasped the knife on his back, and drew it from its sheath. He pointed it toward the sky and ordered, "Everyone weapons out. Let's add some urine stew to the dinner menu." Hyoksik wore a thrilled expression, thinking, "Oh, nice, just stay close and land that final blow." J. Cole held out her hand and focused her energy, transferring a surge of power into Hyoksik, and said, "Take this." Right after that, his notification window popped up again saying, "Health and strength have slightly increased. Duration 3 minutes. Hyoksik couldn't help but exclaim in shock. "This is..." Rachel smirked and said, "Don't mention it." 0 wasted movements. Hyoksik immediately rewarded her with a punch straight to the head, making her wince in extreme pain. Then, without missing a beat, Hyoksik strode forward with a cocky look on his face and said, "Let's go. The final blow is mine." At the same time, thoughts kept racing through his mind. Think Hyoksik the blonde noble lady, and no fewer than 5 kids who look like little bunnies. In a flash, Hyoksik blinked away from his spot. He charged like a madman toward the urins and landed a devastating punch, leaving an Uran lying motionless on the ground. Blood splattered everywhere. Right after that, his status window announced, "Urine defeated, level up." Hyoksik was utterly stunned and thought to himself, "I jumped 4 levels with just 1 final blow." Then, wearing a deeply satisfied grin, he said, "At this rate, I can hit level 20 today. I'm finally getting stronger." Not far away, a goblin was charging forward aggressively. A dying Uran was lying nearby. He swung his knife, preparing for the kill shot. And of course, not wanting to miss a chance to level up, Hyoksik rushed over, shoved the goblin aside, and said, "Whoops, my bad." My elbow slipped. Then, with a savage grin and a look of pure glee, he approached the Uran and said, "Last hit. Every final blow in this world belongs to me." After taking down the Uran monster, finally, the goblins finished processing the carcasses. Nothing but bleached white bones remained before them. "Hyoksik." Rachel rushed to his side and asked if he was done. Hyoksik replied, "Yeah, kiddo, great job. We've cleared out all the monsters, and it looks like they're done butchering them." Not far away, the goblins were gloating, with massive chunks of meat in their hands. Suddenly, a hand reached out from behind and lightly tapped Hyoksik on the shoulder. It was head chef Kunkan. He asked in a low, gravelly voice, "Hey, human, what are you looking at?" Hyoksik spun around, startled, and pointed toward the goblins. He asked the head chef, "Are they really allowed to eat the army's rations like that?" Kunsan immediately replied, "Didn't you know that's a chef's perk? Monster meat tastes worse after sitting for a while. When else do you think low-level grunts like us get to eat fresh meat? Good meat is the only reason I want to live here." Hyoksik thought in a panic. "Perks, are they going to die for this? Is there no labor union at all?" Right after that, Kunkan handed a piece of meat to Hyoksik and said, "You fought like a true warrior. You've earned the right to eat." Hyoksik slowly reached out with his trembling hand, thinking, "Every chef here risks their life for this piece of meat." Having finished his thought, Hyoksik quickly grabbed it and took a huge bite. While chewing, he thought to himself, "The meat looks okay, and the smell is strong, but you can taste it. But it's so bland and tough. If this was sold in Korea, it wouldn't last a day. Are they really risking their lives for this mid-meat? Well then." Immediately after, Hyoksik turned to J. Chol and said, "What if I could make something way better than this?" J. Cole was startled and asked, "What did you say?" Then a devious idea popped into his head. "I can control them by controlling their stomachs. I'll become the god of cooking." Without another word, Hyoksik immediately summoned his status window and opened the hero shop. His bizarre behavior made J. Cole's eyes bug out. As the hero shop slowly opened, Hyoksik began to calculate. "I have 70 points left after buying toys for Bobo. I'll put it all into this skill. And this item." Rachel looked shocked and quickly asked, "What on earth are you buying?" At that moment, the window displayed a notification. Rank F cooking skill. You can cook more delicious food. Required hero points 50. Seasoning with high MSG content. Hero points required 20T. Without a second thought, Hyoksik hit the buy button, and a spice jar appeared right in Hyoksik's hand. Seeing this, Rachel started scolding him. "A jar of salt? Do you seriously have points to burn?" Hyoxic explained. Geez, don't be so shallow. Just focus and watch closely. Seeing is believing, you know. This will give you a taste of pure flavor, right on the tip of your tongue. Immediately after, Hyoxic proudly sprinkled the seasoning over the meat. After staring intently at the golden brown meat for a while, Hyoxic felt satisfied and thought, so juicy, fragrant and perfectly cooked. I truly am a god of this new world. Snapping out of his thoughts, Hyoxic brought the meat to the chef. Head chef, he said, please try this meat. Kunsan replied, thanks. But I'm pretty stuffed right now. Maybe later. Hyoxic said urgently, I put my heart and soul into this. If the great master Kunkan tries it, I could die with no regrets. Hearing those sincere words, Kunsan took the meat and replied, all right, I'll have a bite. As the flavor hit him, Kunsan flashed back to being a shy, introverted kid. The scene shifts to the demon army's kitchen. Hyoxic looked absolutely delighted as he walked out with a bag of food, not forgetting to thank the head chef. A tearful Kunkan replied, the food stays fresh for up to 2 days. Come see me if you need anything else, okay? Arriving at Bobo's room, Hyoxic peeked inside and called out happily, Bobo. At the same time, the dog bared its teeth fiercely and lunged straight at Hyoxic, causing him to panic with his eyes bulging out. Bobo quickly devoured the meat, as if it hadn't eaten in ages. Hyoxic happily opened the sack and said, eat as much as you want, buddy. You're basically a professional dog dad now. If you like it, I'll bring more tomorrow. At the same time, Hyoxic dumped a whole sack of meat in front of Bobo, making the dog absolutely thrilled. It turned over and looked at Hyoxic with eyes full of love. Suddenly, a notification window popped up saying, Bobo's affection has increased. Affection level target reached. Hero quest complete. You have received 200 hero points. Hyoxic looked incredibly hyped, laughing joyfully and exclaiming, just as planned. Finally got it. J. Cole asked blankly, oh, the quest is done already. Hyoxic glanced back and replied, yeah, I'm feeling way more confident now. Saving these for a rainy day. Now I've got a ton of extra stat points. J. Cole asked, those will increase your stats. Why haven't you used them yet? Stop wasting your life like this. Hyoxic frowned and replied, how could I use them when I didn't know what they did? Wasn't it because some dummy skipped the tutorial? J. Cole replied awkwardly, well, you can always try again. All right then. Here is Guide J. Cole's explanation. You can use points on the 4 basic stats: strength, vitality, agility, and mana. Strength boosts raw power. Vitality increases endurance and stamina. Agility increases reaction time and movement speed. And mana is well for magic, obviously. Hyoxic then asked, so what's charisma then? J. Cole waved it off. That's just a hidden stat. You can't upgrade it with points. It only goes up through proper training. Simply put, just keep them balanced. Hyoxic looked at his fist, clenching it tight, and said confidently, really, usually pumping strength is the way to go. J. Cole replied in shock, what? Maybe at the start, but in the long run, mana is crucial. A body reinforced by mana is obviously much stronger than just some buff meathead. Now go to the shop and buy basic mana control. Hyoxic asked blankly, what the heck is mana control? Rachel quickly explained, simply put, it teaches you how to manipulate mana. It probably costs around 100 hero points. Hyoxic immediately dived into the search bar. Let's see, basic mana control. Nope, nothing, it's not here. Rachel exclaimed in disbelief. No way, that's supposed to be a common item in the shop. Hyoxic looked at her with pure disappointment and said, and here I thought you were finally being useful. Why are you so useless? I seriously can't believe this. Rachel tried to explain. No, I swear it should have been there. 3 weeks later in Bobo's room, Hyoxic was sprawled out on the floor groaning. Finally hit level 100. Took way longer than I thought it would. Rachel chimed in. Well, obviously. The XP required to level up just keeps scaling. Looking at the notification board, Hyoxic whined. Is there no other hero as hardworking as me? Rachel said playfully. What are you talking about? You've been such a slacker. Hyoxic snapped back, a slacker. He then slammed his hand down on Rachel, flattening her against the ground and asking, do you even know how many times? I almost died today. Rachel replied in pain, But it usually takes 6 months to reach level 100. By now, Rachel's body had been squashed flat like an over-easy egg. She sobbed and wailed, I just wanted to be friendly. Hyoxic replied coldly, you brought this on yourself. Suddenly, the door burst open. A frantic goblin rushed in to announce, Instructor Hyoxic, the commander wants to see you. Get ready now. The scene cuts to Commander Hermes' office. Seeing Hyoxic walk in, Hermes sat back lazily and greeted him. Choi Hyoxic, you're looking much better than the last time we met. You've gotten stronger too. It looks like your mana pool has doubled. Hyuksik quickly raised his hand in a salute and cheerfully replied, I've been doing my best to deliver the highest quality meat to Bobo every day. Hermes spoke with a hint of suspicion, but you're leveling up way too fast.
So,
Is it thanks to the hero's leveling system? Hyuksik froze, thinking to himself, she knows I'm a hero. Since when? Seeing Hyuksik standing there stunned, Hermes spoke up. Come on, don't look so shocked. I've known since the first time we met. Hyuksik asked back, but how? Hermes replied with a playful smile. I knew you had a thing for researching heroes. Now worry about yourself. Why do you think I called you here out of the blue? Hyuksik stiffened, thinking, is it about Bobo's final training session? Or is it? Then something clicked. Hyuksik asked fearfully, is it because of the upcoming battle? Hermes replied, exactly. Do you remember the promise we made? Hyuksik suddenly looked determined and answered, of course. But Hermes gave a cryptic smile and said, oh really? In the next split second, she transformed into a grotesque demon with razor-sharp white teeth, bared right at Hyuksik. Then why do you look like that, Hyuksik?
get.
Hyuksik was paralyzed with terror after seeing her true form. Before he could even process it, Hermes growled in a fit of rage. I've known you were a hero for a long time. Did you think I wouldn't notice? How fast you were power leveling? Work harder if you don't want to die. This whole thing is for my entertainment, remember that. At the same time, her clawed hands reached out and touched him menacingly. Then Hermes added, when do you think the audience gets the most hyped? From flashy performances or an overwhelming victory? No, it's when there's a wild card. After returning to Bobo's place, he was lost in his own thoughts. That monster probably thinks so too. She's picking an opponent I have no chance of beating, wanting me to be the underdog. She already gave me a warning, so... Right then, J. Cole cut in and asked, so what's the plan? Are we gonna die, Hyuksik? Hyuksik gritted his teeth and looked at her in frustration, saying, chill out for a second. Just let me think. Very quickly after that, he pulled up his status window. With a rushed expression, he said, it's better to know the opponent well before the fight. I need to find out exactly how strong they are. However, Rachel couldn't keep her cool at all and said anxiously, but we only know its name. The decisive battle is right around the corner. How are you even going to recognize it? Meanwhile, Hyuksik was still busy tapping away at his screen, responding nonchalantly. There's an item I want to buy in the hero shop. It's called a combat power scouter. And right in front of him appeared a pair of glasses, along with a notification window. Item shabby combat power scouter measures strength, vitality, agility, and mana of the target. The skill only shows the average combat power. Price 50 hero points. J. Cole looked quite surprised, staring wide-eyed at the glasses and exclaiming, oh, a power scouter. Hyuksik quickly explained, yeah, I'll use it to measure their power level, then train by fighting a tribal chief with similar strength. You know, like a pro athlete. Upon hearing that, Rachel sighed and said, you sure are quick when it comes to being petty. Hyuksik teased her back. Still better than being useless like you. Right after that, he immediately showed her the combat power of the glasses. Let's see, my combat power is... The number 375 quickly flashed on the status window. She asked in surprise, 375, I have no idea if that's high or low. Should we measure our own to hearing this? Hyuksik handed the scouter to Rachel and said, here, check it. After a moment, both of them let out a confused, huh? Hyuksik frowned and turned to Rachel. What's wrong? Can't see anything? Rachel looked up with a panicked expression. No, I think this thing is broken. Otherwise, how could you be stronger than me? Looking at the window displaying the number 1560, even Hyuksik was surprised and scoffed. Why are you so shocked? Are you sure you aren't just a weakling? Rachel slumped to the ground, crying a river and complaining. I was super strong 10,000 years ago, you know. Hyuksik didn't care. He nonchalantly put on the glasses and said, whatever. So it works right. Let's see just how strong our Bobo is. 2 seconds later, the window displayed the number 47422. Seeing that result, Hyuksik was instantly stunned and stammered, 4742. Rachel added, feeling even more dejected. We're literally weaker than a dog. Meanwhile, Hyuksik was thinking to himself, is that dog on steroids or something? The scene shifts outside. While the goblins were gossiping excitedly, Hyuksik walked up eagerly and said to Rachel, now let's check everyone else's levels. Even those weak-looking creatures like goblins. In an instant, the stats for each one appeared before his eyes one by one. Power 960, Power 1 620, Power 1 350, Power 231. As soon as he saw these numbers, Hyuksik groaned with a bored expression. Most of them are on the same level as me. Just then, a tough, muscular-looking guy brushed past. Seeing him approach, the goblins scrambled and shouted, Commander Bookman is here, present arms. At the same time, the notification board suddenly revealed his power level to be 14,300. Hyuksik thought to himself, so anyone with a stat over 10,000 is at least a commander level. Then he turned and whispered to J-Chol, "You said my opponent is a squad leader, right?" J-Chol quickly replied, "Yeah, his name is Kotkin. I heard he's just a total pig-brained orc." Hearing this, Hyuksik said with a glimmer of hope, "A squad leader's power is probably only around 3,000, right? Maybe I actually have a shot." He then glanced over to the other side and asked, "Wait, is that pig-brained orc guy him?" Following his gaze, a brawl was breaking out, accompanied by Kotkin's thunderous shouting, "Clear the training ground, move it." Beyond that, it was clear that Kotkin was an orc with a literal pig's head. His power level was 6671. Seeing that staggering number, Hyuksik started shaking like a leaf and stammered to J-Chol, "600 J-Chol." She replied dryly, "Wow, what a surprise. Well, you're dead meat then." Just then, a notification popped up on the status window. Hero quest, do or die. Your chances of winning against that pig are basically zero, but your strength is never giving up hope, even in the most desperate situations, right? That's why you're being given a second chance. Increase your power by 3,000 within 1 week. Objective: increase your power level by 3,000 in 1 week. Reward 300 hero points. Hyuksik suddenly got pumped and said, "Hey, this quest popped up at just the right time. Is this thing stalking me or what? All right, it's do or die, just watch me, Hermes. I don't care who it is, I'm going all in." He thought to himself, "I'm definitely making it out alive." The next morning in the kitchen, Hyuksik came sprinting toward Kotkin, shouting, "I'm here!" Kunsan replied, "Come on in, Hyuksik." Looking at the strange pair of glasses, Kunsan couldn't help but ask curiously, "That's a stylish item you got there. Where'd you pick that up?" Hyuksik gave a shy smile and replied, "Oh, I saw some other people wearing them, so I figured I'd grab one for myself." At that, Kunkan sighed in disappointment and said, "Is that what the kids are into these days? Whatever." "Get yourself ready," quickly Hyuksik grinned and replied, "Understood." However, the second Kunkan turned away. He measured his power at 35,230. Shocked, he wondered to himself, "Why is it so high?" This is the power level of a regular general. Actually, it's not just him. I had my doubts. But all the chefs here have higher power stats because they often fight monsters. Immediately after, he measured the power of the others. They were 1,969, 2,962, and 2,350 respectively. Looking at the numbers appearing before him, Hyuksik thought to himself, "That means if I can train with people as strong as Kotkin, I can get a feel for his level." Snapping out of his thoughts, Hyuksik quickly bowed 90 degrees and said, "Master Kunsan, please allow me to duel with a chef." Kunsan asked in surprise, "A duel?" Hyuksik replied, "Yes. I want to be of help to you." After learning a thing or two, Kunkan looked somewhat displeased. "That's a bit of a hassle, isn't it? Hyuksik, you're strong enough for a human already. There's no need to rush." Hearing that indifferent response, Hyuksik turned to leave, threatening, "If you don't allow it, then I'm going to eat all of today's meat by myself." Kuntan quickly clapped a hand on his shoulder to stop him. "I've been waiting for someone like you. So who exactly did you want to duel with?" A moment later, the crowd of goblins began to gossip excitedly. One of them spoke up with a panicked face. "What's going on?" "It's nowhere near hunting time yet." After hearing the announcement, the whole crowd shouted one after another, "What? Hyuksik wants to duel Gonbasam. Oh man, he's totally gonna die today, no way. I literally can't live without his meat." At the same time, Gonbasam's power level appeared to 620. Then a goblin joked around saying, "Well, maybe we should just kill Gonbasam first." Instantly, Kuntan barked at him, "Shut it, you morons!" He then immediately approached Gonbasam and whispered, "You get it right, Gonbasam. Try not to kill him. Don't overdo it. Just put on a little show, all right." Gonbasam looked completely clueless and confused, but still managed to reply, Yeah, I get it." A while later, when both sides were ready, Kuntan suddenly bellowed, "All right, let's get this started. Ready, take your positions. Go." The moment the shout ended, the two were already locked in a fierce stare-down. But in the next second, Gonbasam's attitude suddenly shifted as he muttered, "Don't kill Hyuksik." Meanwhile, Hyuksik was charging toward Gonbasam at full speed, yelling, "Ha!" But Gonbasam managed to throw a punch just in time, forcing Hyuksik to dodge instantly. Then he thought to himself, this guy's punches are purely based on instinct. As soon as he spotted Gonbasam's weak point, Hyuksik broke into a confident smirk and delivered a lightning-fast roundhouse kick. Furthermore, Hyuksik said to himself, "But do you have any idea how many times I've won battles exactly like this?" Simultaneously, a kick straight to the face sent Gonbasam's face spinning. He then slowly collapsed backward. The crowd started cheering wildly for Hyuksik's victory. Gonbasum has lost. Whoa, what just happened? It was so fast I couldn't see a thing. At the same time, Hyoksik couldn't believe his eyes either, thinking he went down with just one kick. It was really that simple. If that's the case, I actually have a shot at winning. The scene shifts to the northern part of the Great Black Forest. Kunsen had taken Hyoksik and his crew out hunting. During this time, Hyoksik seemed quite excited. He thought to himself enthusiastically, I knocked out an orc with double my stats, with just one basic kick. Looks like those power level numbers are just for show. As long as I'm a bit stronger, I can win these fights easily. Suddenly, a goblin came to report to Kunkan. Chef, a large pack of talus has appeared up ahead, Kunsen said in surprise. For real, so that's the territory of those old talus. What a pain. Hearing that, Hyoksik asked curiously, what's wrong? Do talus taste bad or something? Kunsan quickly turned and replied, no, their meat is top tier, and their bones make an incredible stew. But they hunt in packs, and their protective instinct is insane. So if you dare touch their young, you're a dead man. Hyoksik looked rather flustered. Scratching his head, he chuckled and said, oh, well, I guess today's hunt ends right here then. But Kunsan didn't agree. After thinking for a moment, he said, but the meat is so good, screw it, let's hunt. In the next second, Kunsan immediately whipped out his chef's knife. He excitedly commanded, everyone charge. Today we're having talus meat for dinner. Instantly the goblins cheered in excitement. Yeah, talus meat, don't let a single one escape. Slaughter them all. Nobody gets away. On the other side, the talus didn't hesitate to fight back. One of them let out a furious growl. As Hyoksik was eagerly stepping forward, he was blocked by a goblin, making him a bit annoyed as he barked out, hey, why are you blocking my way? Even the talus looked fed up and confused. But suddenly Hyoksik flashed a knowing smirk, thinking, damn, so much XP to farm today. The finishing blow is all mine. After a period of fighting, most of the talus had been taken down. Meanwhile, the goblins were whispering and gossiping, while Hyoksik was still preoccupied duking it out with the last one. With an excited face, he shouted in his mind, here it is, wrapping up this last one. At the same time, notification windows kept popping up. Level up, level up. Seeing this, the vine quickly flew over, lavishing praise on him for stealing the final kill. You're so good, hero. Hyoksik grinned from ear to ear and replied, I know right. That's exactly why I love working. In the kitchen, suddenly a loud noise from behind made him glance back instantly as he thought, what the hell? Immediately, the crowd began screaming, it's here! The Talus Lord. The Talus Lord's eyes glared with a glowing green light, looking toward the crowd, then quickly glanced at its kin, who had been wiped out. In an instant, it was so enraged its body trembled and its teeth gnashed. Grind, grind. Hyoksik quickly put on his glasses and looked up at the Talus Lord, saying, let's see how strong this guy is. To make everyone panic like this, very quickly, the scouter displayed power level immeasurable. He couldn't believe his eyes and wondered, wait, combat power is immeasurable. Immediately his legs began to shake, his face filling with pure dread. He whipped around and said to Kunkan, Chef, what do we do? However, he was completely stunned, as everyone had already bolted. This made Hyoksik go ballistic, cursing, what the hell, you bastards? Meanwhile, Kunkan shouted back as he ran, all right, y'all, see you later. And so Hyoksik silently cursed him out. This irresponsible jerk. Cutting through his thoughts, a blood-curdling scream echoed out, ah! Along with the resentful roar of the mother Talus. It was too much for Hyoksik to handle, forcing him to cover his ears tightly. He grumpily thought to himself, what kind of spider has such a big mouth? Suddenly, Jeho turned around with a frantic look and announced, Hero, watch your back. Hyoksik jumped out of his skin. He spun around in a panic, asking, what is it? At that moment, a swarm of small Talus along with the mother Talus were surging toward them. Without a word, Hyoksik immediately hauled ass, screaming, no other way. Let's bounce. The goblins also shouted in unison, yeah! Run, hurry, help us! Hyoksik thought as he glanced back while running. One stop and I'm dead. I've got to save myself. A while later, Hyoksik had drifted to the mouth of a cave. He looked up blankly and asked, there's a cave here. Is it safe, though? Jeho quickly replied, it looks empty from the outside. I just checked it a moment ago. Casting a skeptical glance back at the forest, Hyoksik thought to himself, honestly looking into this cave, I don't trust it, but it's still safer than just roaming around the forest. Without further hesitation, he decided to head inside. After walking for a bit, he asked curiously, it looks pretty deep. Is this a natural cave? But Jeho responded, who knows what's in there? The ceiling is high too. Hope there aren't any spiders in here. But thinking of something, Hyoksik immediately looked scared and thought, oh, gotta be careful. After walking a bit further, a patch of green slime caught his eye, making Huisik worry as he blurted out, "Wait, don't tell me." As he stepped forward, touching that slime, Jeho said anxiously, "No way." The head chef said there were no spiders here. However, Huisik thought to himself, "I've been wondering for a while, but is all of this spider web? If so, does that mean—" Thinking that, he immediately scanned his surroundings and discovered a ton of webs along with eggs right there. Now starting to look worried, he said, "Is this actually a spider nest?" After taking a closer look, Huisik stammered to Jeho, "This doesn't look good." Right as he finished, a pair of glowing green eyes slowly approached. Terrified, Huisik turned his head and said, "We gotta get out of here right now." While running, Jeho said, "The adult spiders are here." Huisik snapped back, "I'm not blind, I can see them. Let's just move. This place is way too dangerous. We can't stay here." However, after running a bit longer, Huisik suddenly stepped on an egg by the path. Startled, he thought to himself, "What did I just step on?" Immediately after, he slipped and fell to the ground, but he kept muttering under his breath, "What the hell is this sticky crap? Whatever, I'll just grab anything to use as a weapon." Thinking that, he grabbed one of the eggs and then threw it behind him with all his might. The mother Talus seemed to realize what it was, as it scrambled to catch the eggs, then let out a heart-wrenching wail. It then sadly cradled the egg in its arms, growling softly. Seeing the mother Talus suddenly stop its attack, Huisik was stunned and thought, "What's this?" It stopped attacking. Did that thing distract it? Then he quickly sat down, pointing and asking Jeho, "Why did it suddenly do that?" Jeho then shared his hunch. "Well, it seems to like that round thing you threw. The sticky, slimy one. It looks like a Talus spider egg." After hearing those words, Huisik quickly turned around, looked at those eggs, and suddenly flashed a wicked grin, saying, "Ah, so that's how it is." In the next second, he picked up another egg and spoke right to the mother Talus's face. "That's enough, you crazy spider." Witnessing his actions, the mother Talus shook with rage and shrieked, "Scream!" Having realized its weakness, Huisik let out a satisfied smirk and said, "Oh ho ho. All right. Here it comes." Just as he finished speaking, he spun his body around, gearing up for the next throw. Whoosh! The egg flew like a bullet toward the Talus, but it quickly reached out and made a clean catch. Seeing this, Huisik offered some mock praise. "Damn, you've got some serious hands." Beside him, Jeho remarked nonchalantly, "Must be that monster-tier athleticism." "Nice job, Huisik. What's the plan now?" Huisik chuckled and replied, "Do we even have another choice? If it's eggs you want, I've got hundreds more of them." And so he kept hurling the remaining eggs at it. When an egg smashed, he started trolling, "Oops, that one's a goner. That's not good, man. I bet you could have caught that if you weren't so mid." Then he reached out his hand toward Jeho, ordering more eggs now. But Jeho answered with a deadpan expression, "Huh. What eggs? That was the last one." At that, Huisik turned pale, drenched in sweat, and gasped, "Say what?" The mother Talus grew furious, letting out a low growl. Then it lunged toward him to attack. Jeho shouted in a panic, "Hero, the spider's coming for you." Huisik stammered, "Spider? Step on it, let's go." Meanwhile, the mother Talus extended its clawed hands toward Huisik. At the same time, power surged into his fist. He thought confidently to himself, "Looks like it's wiped out from catching all those eggs." "Focus. Huisik can win this." The mother Talus swung its arm at him with a roar, but he just grinned and yelled, "Ultimate skill." Nirvana strike. His punch landed square on its abdomen. Upon taking the hit, the mother Talus flinched in utter shock. Right at that moment, a notification window popped up, "Level up, level up." He couldn't help but be surprised, wondering, "Did I win? Did I actually win, Jeho? Not quite catching on yet." She stepped forward and asked, "Hero, are you doing okay?" Huisik immediately replied with a weary face, "No, I'm stressed out of my mind." Hearing that, Jeho let out a laugh, but he didn't pay any mind to that attitude, merely saying softly, "Let's just move and get out of here fast." With that said, the two of them quickly moved to a secluded corner. While Rachel was treating his wounds, Huisik asked in surprise, "Are you using recovery magic right now?" Investing points into magic was definitely worth it. Rachel ignored the question and replied calmly, "You're not hurt much anyway, just stopping the bleeding is enough." He then activated his status window and said, "Right, let's add some stat points and get a move on." Quickly, the status window showed him the results. Level 108, Strength 56, +2, Vitality 55, +2, Agility 53, +2, Magic 53, +2. Charisma 27. Looking at these stats, Huisik couldn't contain his emotions, and a sudden tear of joy escaped his eye. Smiling faintly, he said, "Finally, my magic is balanced with my other stats. I'm not sure how it'll play out yet, But this is an investment for the future, right? Just then they both heard a voice echoing from outside. The voice called out, "Choi Hui-sik!" Recognizing the voice, he speculated. Wait, this voice, could it be? It was exactly as he thought. The man was Gun-chan. When he saw that Hui-sik was safe and sound, he came over, sat down beside him, and joked. Didn't think you'd still be kicking. Hui-sik replied indifferently, yeah, whatever. What about you? How did you end up here? Gun-chan grinned ear to ear, his eyes squinting shut, and gave a satisfied thumbs up, saying, well, I ran this way and found the cave. Guess we both got lucky, huh? However, the smile was wiped off his face the moment he heard Hui-sik say, this is a talus spider nest. Immediately, Gun-chan pointed at the eggs and asked with a trembling voice, a nest? So those sticky things over there are... Hui-sik casually cut him off. Those are talus eggs. This is the incubation area, so we better haul ass out of here. Hearing that Gun-chan was so overjoyed, he almost cried. Holding an egg in his hand, he said, talus eggs a delicacy that those high-ranking snobs can only dream of is right here in front of me. Hui-sik quickly stood up and barked at him. Chef, snap out of it. We need to get the hell out of here. Ignoring Hui-sik's frantic look, Gun-chan calmly picked up an egg and started slurping, down saying, yeah, those things chasing me have probably entered the nest by now. Besides, it takes at least a legion commander to take down a talus spider queen. So just let me enjoy my last meal, will ya? Hearing that, Hui-sik was so pissed he clenched his fists tight. Then suddenly from outside, other voices echoed in. Is there a room over there? Did they escape? Then 2 goblins entered. The moment they spotted Gun-chan, they called out, you look, it's the head chef. Gun-chan only cared about the egg. Slurping the egg, he said indifferently, it was a struggle just to survive, let me eat first. Hui-sik glanced down at Gun-chan with worry, thinking to himself, is this really gonna be my last meal? No way. I haven't even had a proper feast yet. Haven't had a meal cooked by my future wife. It can't end meaninglessly like this. I'll find a way out again no matter what. At the same time, in Hamas's study, Vaderun had come to see her. Greetings, Commander. As soon as she saw him, Hamas clicked her tongue and said, still as stiff and formal as ever. Have you completed your assigned mission? Vaderun respectfully replied, yes, ma'am. I have successfully captured the Saintess, the successor of the Holy Kingdom, just as you instructed, ma'am. Hearing those words, Hamas immediately stood up and praised him with delight. See, I told you Vaderun was exceptional. And overcoming those fanatics in just 3 weeks. It's truly incredible. Hamas placed her hand on Vaderun's head, making him stammer, my lady, you are far too kind. Suddenly a knock sounded at the door. Knock, knock, knock. This left Hamas visibly annoyed as she grumbled, what is it now? You're ruining a perfectly good moment. As the door opened, a goblin rushed in and reported breathlessly, Commander, urgent news. While the cooks were out gathering ingredients, a major disaster occurred. Hamas replied dismissively, that's just a typical Tuesday around here. What's got you in such a twist this time? The goblin quickly said, the scale of this event is massive. The Talus Queen has suddenly appeared, and right now most of the chefs, including head chef Gun-chan, are either dead or missing in action. Upon hearing this news, Vaderun looked horrified, while Hamas grew anxious and cried, oh my god, oh my god. What about Choi Hui-sik? The goblin quickly replied. The Beast Keeper is also missing, ma'am. Vaderun asked with deep concern. Choi Hui-sik is missing too. Back in the cave, Gun-chan and his subordinates were still enthusiastically feasting on the talus spider eggs. He shouted gleefully, a toast to our certain doom. Drink up, boys. I'll see you all in Valhalla. My brave brothers, gulp gulp. Before he could finish his sentence, Hui-sik slammed a book right onto his head. He scolded him. Get a grip on yourself. Seeing the book in Hui-sik's hand, Gun-chan asked blankly, well, what the hell is that? Hui-sik said sternly, it looks like you were under a spell or something, so I just snapped you out of it, using my secret weapon. At the same time, the status window appeared. Content, Item Monster Encyclopedia, Beast Edition, a demon encyclopedia about magical beasts. Useful information that you'll want to know. Abilities, contains information on almost every type of magical beast. Required hero points 50. Hero system. Talus A spider-type magical beast that lives in swarms. Possesses exceptionally sturdy legs. To eliminate a talus, aim for its relatively weaker parts, specifically the torso and head. The bodily fluids of a talus are highly flammable. Even its eggs contain a liquid that is as explosive as a bomb. Caves created from talus saliva catch fire very easily. Therefore, use caution. Fire magic should not be used inside them. After closing the book, Hui-sik immediately asked a question. Head chef Gun-chan, I was wondering if you can use fire magic. Though he didn't understand Hui-sik's intention, Gun-chan replied anyway. I can but only simple tricks like shooting small flames. He then suddenly sighed and said, just give it up, Choi Hui-sik. A talus's carapace isn't something that can be easily burned with my level of magic. However, Hui-sik insisted firmly, that doesn't matter. I wasn't planning on burning the talus anyway. After hearing that, the goblins let out mocking laughs, while Gun-chan just looked on completely bewildered. Suddenly, Hui-sik made a bold announcement. Listen up, everyone, my fellow senior chefs. I have an escape plan. As he spoke, he held a talus egg in his hand, analyzing it with a cheerful look. We need to survive. Only then can we continue to enjoy delicacies like this. Right, ignoring his words, the goblins just sighed indifferently in despair. Not wanting to end it all here, Hui-sik laid out an enticing offer. Let's get out of here. And I, Choi Hui-sik, will provide unlimited servings of rare, magical beast meat to celebrate our survival. Hearing this, the goblins instantly got hyped, shouting, whoa, let's do this. Meanwhile, even Gun-chan slapped his shoulder in agreement. You're right, Hui-sik. To enjoy an all-you-can-eat buffet, we gotta make it out alive first. So what's the game plan? Seeing Gun-chan's attitude do a total 180, Hui-sik was over the moon thinking to himself, I did it, I'm in.